Okay, let's go ahead and start. Okay, to start off with, I'll just introduce myself in case you have no clue who I am. I'm Mr. Eugene To. I'm trained in economics for both my master's degree and my bachelor's degree. I run this company called ETG, which is Economics Execution Genius. We have been around for 18 years. I am the TYS answers author. There are two TYS economics TYS author, and I'm one of the two of them. And I also publish various economics guidebooks. Okay, and the econs program that I run is called ETG Econs. We are one of the econs tuition centers in Singapore with the highest enrollments. About 300 plus students take econs with us every year. We started this in 2007. If you are interested to join our programs, we have classes available at Bukit Timah, Upper Thomson, Kovan, Pasir Ris, Punggol, or you can attend through Zoom. About half of our students actually attend our programs through Zoom. Okay, so with that, I'll go straight into the program. We are covering these things today. So I'm going to talk about university admission score and this thing called integrative grade profile. I will cover a little bit about subject combination and H2, H1 economics, but a little less focused because the truth to be told is that I wanted to hold this webinar earlier, but I've actually postponed this webinar for 2 to 3 times because of Chinese New Year. Right, and so by the time that I'm doing this webinar, I think many of you would have already selected a subject combination. So I'm going to focus less on these two topics, and I'll focus more on the rest of the subject matter that we're going to talk about today, which is university admission score, taking A-level econs as a subject, as well as what you might want to find out about the ETG program. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and start. Okay, for most of you starting JC1, right? I think maybe you have not yet have a sensing of like what courses you want to go to and what kind of grades will unlock the courses that you want to go to. So I want to give you a sense of perspective right from the onset. Okay, so I know that you just started orientation, you just started JC1, but I think it's important for you to get the endpoint in mind. Okay, what kind of grades do you want to be achieving, and where do you want to go? What kind of grades you need to get to be able to go to these places that you want to go? All right. So let's give some assumptions. Say for example, if you score A/A, so your 3H2 you get A, and your H1 you get A, what kind of courses are you eligible for? So if you want to do law, medicine, dentistry, computing, pharmacy, food science and tech, for some reason, I have no clue why this is on the list, but philosophy, politics, econs, this is a popular course called PPE. You want to go to prestigious universities like Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, then you could get nothing less than a triple A for your H2 and an A for your H1 GP. Okay, so this, where do we get this from? So if you actually, it's very simple to do this. So you can get this grade, integrated grade profile, right? There's this thing called integrated grade profile. I'm going to type it down for you. If you search this thing called, sorry, indicative grade profile. Okay, so you can type NUS IGP, NTU IGP, and SMU IGP, SUSS IGP. You can type this in. SUSS IGP is a bit less relevant because they don't give you the exact grade. They give you like a specific range of score. So that's not exactly very helpful. But NUS, NTU, and SMU, the IGP, they are actually there. Okay, so what you need to know about IGP is that you don't need to look at the 90th percentile IGP. 90th percentile IGP, most of the time, is just A. You look at the 10th percentile IGP. Hey, 10th percentile IGP means to say that, okay, if you are in the 10th percentile, means they are the lousiest 10% of the students who got into the school in terms of your A-level grades. That is the grade that the 10th percentile score. Okay, that means to say that if you want to get into those courses, right, you should achieve the minimum of this score because the lousiest 10% student got this score and they got into this course. Okay, so for these courses that I'm listed in this slide, this is the minimum grade that you got to get lah. If you don't get this minimum A, you can't get into these courses lah. Okay, so we carry on. All right, so if you get like, if you got like a very average student, the average student gets straight B's. So if you're like very average, actually this is not a bad score, no. If you get B, it's not a bad score. What kind of courses that you can go into. The courses you can go into, you can probably get into NTU business. You can, sorry, I think SMU business, SMU accountancy. You can go to econs at SMU and NTU, but not at NUS. You can do social sciences. You can get to the science courses at NTU, and almost all of the engineering courses you will be eligible for. So if you get straight Bs, right, these are some of the kind of courses that you expect to be able to get into. Okay, so what happens if you get all Cs? Hey, so we're not saying that straight C's is a bad grade. Actually, by definition, straight C's is supposed to be considered to be kind of like an average grade. So straight C's is an average grade. But if you only get an average grade at the A levels, you'll find that your choices, it's not that there's no choice, but your choices going to be very, very restricted. So the kind of courses that you will be able to get into with straight C's, right? You'll find that is nursing. If you're good with engineering, like civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, or you're okay with taking physics, or you're okay with doing teaching, go to NIE, then I think you'll be quite happy, right, to get straight C's, okay, because you'll be able to get into the courses relatively easily. Okay, so finally, right, what happens if you're a student that doesn't get at least triple C's and a C for H1, then you'll find that most of the courses locally you will not be able to get to. So your options are to go and do private university courses. There will also be some courses at SUSS available, but the top 3 local universities, those will be quite out of reach if you score anything lower than triple C. Okay, so I hope this gives you a little bit of sense of perspective, and it gives you something to work towards, like what kind of grades that you want to be achieving in time for A levels, right? And you should be starting to think about this now instead of waiting, 3-4 months the road, 6 months down the road, because you want to get into a good routine now in terms of how much time you're going to spend revising, how's a typical week, typical day look like for you, all right? And get your priorities done right from the onset. Okay, so I know that many of you have selected a subject combination, so I will go quick on this one, but it's still good for you to know some things that I'm covering here, all right? Because before we go and talk about subject combination, I'm going to talk about the university admission scores. Okay, if you don't at this point understand the system yet, okay, this is the system. I'll start with the old system first. The old system is that you take 3 H2 subject, general paper, H1 subject, project work, mother tongue, all of the points, right? 20, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90. So only mother tongue is not counted. Okay, only mother tongue is not counted. The rest is part of your university admission score, which is a maximum of 90 points. All right. Then what is the current system? The current system is that only your H2 subjects, general paper, is counted. So total of 70 points. Then what happens to your H1 subject and mother tongue? So some people will think, oh, if the H1 subject and mother tongue is not counted, then does it mean that it's no longer important for me to do well in my H1 subject and mother tongue? Okay, so there's 2 things to take note of. Hey, firstly, general piece of advice, do not discard your mother tongue. Do not discard your H1 subject. Do not think of them as useless. Okay, there are 2 potential use cases for making sure that your H1 subject and your mother tongue is well taken care of. And the reason is that, okay, I'll give you an example. So let's say you score B, C, C for your 3 H2 subjects, and you scored C for general paper. Okay, so you didn't get like a perfect score. You didn't get A. You get B, C, C, C. So your best score is a B and your worst score is a C. In that case, right, if you score H1 subject, your H1 contrasting subject or H1 subject, you score A. And then your mother tongue, you also score A. In that case, right, they will be included in your UAS, and so they will now look at it based on 90, then they will rebase it to 70, and you get an improved score. So if your H1 subject and your mother tongue happens to be better than your overall H2 subjects and general paper, they will help to pull up your score. So it's kind of like, if they make your score worse, they will not be counted. If they make your score better, then they'll be counted. So in a sense, is to reduce pressure on you, but it doesn't mean that your H1 subject and mother tongue is now useless. They just help you, and they do not make your score worse. So that's something to think about. Hey, and for those of you who, let's say, you want to be applying for scholarships and you want to go for the competitive courses, then there is a very high likelihood that they also want to look at your H1 subject and your mother tongue to see, okay, are you the kind of student that can handle a very heavy academic load? Or you're the kind of student that cannot handle a heavy academic load. So let's say you want to go to more competitive courses like medicine or law, or you want to go to prestigious overseas university, or you want to apply for scholarship, then they will be looking at the admission officers will be looking at your H1 subject and your mother tongue as well to see overall comprehensively, are you a person that can handle a heavy academic load? All right. So this is the basics relating to your university admission score. Okay. Now so what other things that you might want to know, right? So your arts courses are subjects like history, English literature, geography, translation, right? Econs, of course, is in the A levels counted as an art. All right. Science will be your physics, chemistry, bio, math. Okay. And you have to at A levels take one of the subject as a contrasting subject. So what's a contrasting subject? So let's say if you take 3 art subject, you must take 1 science. If you take 3 science subject, you must take 1 arts. That contrasting subject can be H1 or can be H2. General paper is mandatory. Project work is mandatory. Okay. So and general paper is part of your 70 points. Okay. Project work is pass or fail only. So you just make sure that you pass, then that is okay. Right. What are the common subject combinations that students like to take? So I'm doing this for the benefit of students who have not yet made their decision of what kind of subject combination to take. Hey, there's a reason why subject combination like PCME, BCME, HELM, they're the most common subject combination. Like if you want to take science courses in university, then of course you could take science courses now. Okay, and if you want to take any course that involve writing in university, then it'll be good for you to take up econs. All right. If you want to do business, you want to do finance, right? You want to do accounting, you want to do any social science course, then economics will be a huge boost. So, long story short, why do students like to take the subject combi PCME? It's because PCME, for a student who has no idea what they want to do, if you have like you have no idea what you want to do, or you have an idea but you haven't confirmed what you want to do, and you do not want to restrict or limit your options at university, the best subject combination to take is PCME. All right. And for us students, HELM is the most common subject combination. Okay. Now, again, if you are still deciding, how do I start thinking about what subject combination to take? So you start off with the list of what your school offers you, means what you are entitled to take. Because some schools, they have like subject requirements, like if you didn't get B3 for this subject, then I cannot allow you to take this subject. So you start off first with what is a list of those subjects that are open to you. Then I'll advise you to consider the following factors. What's the first factor? All right. I'll obviously advise you, this is something that is common sense. You should take subjects that you're likely to do well in. So like, if you scored A1 for this subject at the O levels, and there is this subject available to you, you should take that course. Why? Because if you did well in this subject at the O levels, and when we say do well, A1, right, then you should probably do that. If you're good in writing, you should take essay-based subjects. If you are good in logic, right, you can take econs. So first factor is to make sure that you take subjects that you are likely to do well in, because at the end point, what you want to do is to score an A for your A levels. Second thing is that this is also equally important. Make sure that the subject combi that you take allows you to do what you want to do in the future. Like it can't be the case that you want to do something that requires math, right? In the university course, that the prerequisite is math. So I would advise you to go to university website, look at the courses and see whether they say, oh, to enter this course, you must have taken H1 math. Right. So look at the courses that you're taking and see whether or not these courses that you want to take in university, this subject that you're taking now will help you get there. Okay, and then lastly, this is often kind of like underrated by students, and I will say that among all of these reasons that we have talked about, this is an equally important reason. I want you to also be thinking about what subject you're going to enjoy doing. Like, it's not just about doing well in the subject, right? You think you will do well in the subject, because a large part of studying is motivation. Right? if you don't have the motivation to study throughout your A level, right, you are playing all the time, right, you also cannot do well. So what is one of the things that drive motivation is actually interest. Okay, so if you're interested in the subject, there's a higher tendency that you will spend more time studying the subject, and then it will of course mean that you might have a higher chance of doing well in the subject. Okay, so my suggestion is to take a little bit of everything in consideration when you make your final decision. Make sure that you have something that you're interested in doing. Make sure that you have something that helps you with your future. Make sure that you have something that helps you to do well. Okay. If this part here is helpful for you, whether or not you have decided on your subject combination, because it's helpful to know what the subject is about and what is the testing requirement, what is the testing format for econs as a subject. Okay, so let me share a bit about the format, right? So if you are taking econs as a H2 student, your final exam is going to be, as a H2 student, 2 papers. Okay, paper 1 is a case study paper. There are 2 case study. One of the case study will be primarily microeconomics. Another case study will be primarily macroeconomics. Each case study is 30 marks. Okay, each case study 30 marks, total 60 marks, and this case study paper takes up 40% of your total score. For your paper 2 for H2 student is 3 essays. Each essay will be 25 marks. You'll be given 6 questions to choose from. You will choose 3 questions to do. 2 questions must be from one section, which is microeconomics or macroeconomics. Then the other one question must be from the other section. Okay, so total of 3 questions, right, to do, right, and each question is worth 25 marks. Your essay paper, which is paper 2, will take up 60% of the total score. If you take econs as a H1 student, then you only have 1 paper. The paper will be 3 hours long, and you will do 2 case study. Each case study is 40 marks. Okay, so that's the difference in the format for H2 versus H1. Okay, I want to kind of like dispel some assumptions about what many people tend to assume about H2 and H1. Some people think that, oh, I take H1 economics will be easier, right? No, H1 econs is not easier in terms of the question difficulty. The question difficulty for H2 and H1 can be equally difficult or can be equally easy. So it doesn't mean that you take H1, it will be easier. So that's not the case. Then what is the thing about taking H1? So H1, you take one less major topic in J1. So most schools do in J1 this topic called firms and decision. You will not do firms and decision as a H1 student. Most schools do trade and globalization in J2. As a H1 student, you do not do these 2 topics. So normally schools will take about 1 month to cover firms and decisions and about 2 weeks to cover trade and globalization. So as a H1 student, you will not cover these 2 topics, which I will say is about 6 weeks of curriculum content time that is safe. So personally, I feel that this is from personal opinion, I will feel that it's more worthwhile to do econs as a H2 subject than econs as a H1 subject. Okay, but the load is about 20% to 25% lesser compared to H2 students in terms of the content load. All right. Then we talk about choices. If you are taking H1, right, you have no choice but to answer, because case study is answer all questions. But as a H2 student, right, remember that essay takes up 60% of total score. And the essay paper, you have the option to choose. So you can actually choose questions that you are more comfortable with doing, and there is an option of foregoing the 3 questions that you're not so good at. So in that sense, right, there is actually a better chance of you doing better at the H2 exam because of this option. Right, so I just want you all to like be able to make an informed choice if you are still making a decision on whether to take H2 or H1 economics, right? If you take H2 economics, I think it's a more worthwhile subject to take as a H2 as compared to taking as H1. Okay, now next, what do you expect to know and learn in this subject called A-level economics? What exactly are you going to learn, right? So given that you all have not yet started school proper, you are still in the orientation phase, so you're very curious. You're like, hey, what is econs about? What am I going to learn in econs? Like, is it a subject that is very theory based? Is it memorization based, or is it real world application? Okay, so what we are going to study in economics, right, is basically how the world works. You're going to learn how the world works, the way that the world works, why the world works in specific ways. And you can also make money, right, by making sure that you are well-grounded in economics. Okay, so Econs is 60% essays. If you're a H2 student, like I said, you write 3 essays and 40% case studies. Essay is roughly you write 2.5 pages minimum length, 4 pages maximum length. Okay. And case study, normally, right, for the case study, each case study you have a 2 mark, 4 mark, 6 mark, 8 mark, and 10 mark question. So total is 30 marks, and it's usually 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 for each case study. And case study will have a mixture of data interpretation questions and some application questions plus a mini essay. So your 10 mark question and your 8 mark question in your case study, they are essentially mini essay questions. Okay, so this will give you a sensing of what you're really doing in A-level economics as a subject. Now, if you were to ask me, what is it really like to take econs as a subject, right? So I will tell you that why is it that I feel that econs is a great subject to take is because econs is a subject that nobody has a head start. Now, if you think about this, right, at the end of the day, right, whether or not you believe it or you don't believe it or whatever is it that people say about the bell curve, hey, whether the bell curve exists or not, if you learn math and you learn statistics, when we look at statistics, you have this thing called normal distribution curve or what we call a bell curve. A well-set exam paper, right, will have scripts, right, exam scripts, right, onto this normal distribution curve nicely. All right, which means to say that you're going to have strong students, you're going to have average students, you're going to have weak students. And by default, this is just how the way things are. Okay, you're going to have strong students, you're going to have average students, you're going to have weak students. Now, why would I take econs? I will take econs to kind of like give up on my weaker subject. So if I have like not really always consistently done well in the subject, then I will know that there are other students who are stronger than me in the subject. Then those subjects that are things that, I'll start off with a weaker kind of foundation compared to others. But for econs, right, the one advantage is nobody has a head start. So econs is something that everybody has not taken before. So no one has a head start. So you can, from the onset, do better in it if you focus and you have the right help and you try your best to make sure that you listen in class and do the practices that you need to. Econs is also a subject that can be aced, right? So what's our proof? 71% of our students last year scored an A, right? And this is actually a better chance than taking the average route. So on average, right, there are some subjects, the distinction rate is like 20%, 25%. There are some subjects, the distinction rate is 40%. So the highest I've seen for subject distinction rate is 40%. 71% of our students got an A last year. So that is obviously better than average, right? So econs is definitely a subject that you can ace, right, if you have the right help. Okay, what's the real benefit of taking econs in my personal view is that econs is a subject that help you understand the world. Like you can make use of econs to understand the world. Later, I will give you some examples. You can use econs to future-proof your career because when we look at econs, it's used in things like topics like personal finance, it's used in topics like accounting. Okay. So it's used in majors like business management. Taking all of this, if you're taking any of these courses, right, econs has some fundamental help in terms of starting these courses. Okay, so back to how we make use of econs to understand the world. So I was actually just teaching the J1 class today. So this week we had our first J1 class and we were talking about econs as a subject in the J1 class. So I was sharing that, okay, when we look at econs, right, we learn things like, okay, why is it that some firms, they make billions of dollars of losses every year and they continue to operate? Why do some firms purposely lose money, right? It sounds something that is hard to understand, but econs, we explore the reasons behind that. It's actually that they are trying to monopolize the market. They want to kick the other players out of the market. In econs, we talk about like, hey, how come Malaysia want to, for a period of time, implement a maximum price and then stop exporting chickens to Singapore? We in econs also learn things like, okay, so with tariffs being implemented, right? So in light of recent events, so you're expecting tariffs to go up, right? So when tariffs go up, right, how does it affect Singapore, which is a country that export a lot of goods and services? Right. So when we study econs, we will start to understand the world that we have around us. And I was sharing with students, right? If you're strong in economics, right, you will find better times and opportunity to do things like buying houses, buying cars. So you try to buy when the demand is low, when the supply is high, where the prices are low. And then you try to sell when the demand is low and the supply is high, and then you will make more money that way. It's not that, oh, you learn econs, then you can time the market in a precise manner, but you have better decision making because you have better information and better way, better lens to view the world. All right. So let's move on. Okay, so this part here, I think is something that applies whether or not you're a J1 student or J2 student. If you happen to be a J2 student watching this, all right. In my personal view, there are 5 factors that determine whether students get an A grade or don't get an A grade. And this is from my observation and analysis after teaching 18 batches of students, after having taught thousands of students through and bringing them through the A levels. I think that at the end of the day, right, you might feel inclined to believe that, oh, I have a good teacher, I have good tuition, I have good school notes, then I'll get an A. At the end of the day, right, it's not bound to one single factor. There are actually 5 factors that determine whether you get an A or you don't get an A. Okay, so the 5 factors, I put a percentage here, but the truth is that this percentage differ from person to person. Okay, so this is like, to me, what an average student, right? The 5 factors, what these 5 factors would be. The 5 factors are, of course, you start off with you are the most important factor. So your attitude, your what do you do on a day-to-day basis? Okay, followed by what is the teacher that you're getting in school? Is it a very competent and a teacher that cares for you? How is the school department? Is the school department strong in the subject, or is the school department is not so strong in the subject? Tuition, do you have tuition? Is the tuition helpful? And then luck. Some people actually, surprisingly, they discount the impact that luck has on outcomes. But luck has a part to play on outcomes, and just not enough of us recognize that luck is an outcome, that luck is something that can impact the outcomes. Okay, so let's talk about school department. Why the school department plays a role in whether you do well in the subject or not. Hey, as far as we would like to think that, hey, all schools are the same, but in some ways they're actually different. Like how they're different, like program. Different schools cover the curriculum differently. Like some schools will pay more attention in certain topics and they pay less attention in certain topics. And some schools sequence it differently. And if you think that the sequencing has no impact that on a person's learning, I feel that that is not true. So we could discuss this further in depth, but not in today. If you come to me privately, I can tell you, say what I feel about sequencing, and I feel that you should teach this topic first, followed by the next topic, so that everything moves in a more natural way, and students will be understand things better. But sometimes schools may sequence it in a different way that makes learning a little bit more challenging because your things are disjointed. There are some topics that connect to other topics that they should be looked at in conjunction with each other. And then modes of learning, like what do you mean by modes of learning? So some schools say, okay, everything is on-site, in person. And some schools will say that, hey, no, some things we're going to put it as an online HBL lesson. You go and learn on HBL. Not saying that that is bad, but some students learn better if they are given the independence to learn on their own. Some students have to be handheld. Like I have to hold your hand, I have to look at you, I have to make sure that you do your homework, I have to make sure that you are paying attention in class. So the modes of learning matters as well. Then assessments, like do I give you frequent and on-track assessment to track that you are learning the material? Like every term, do I track that you have learned this material properly? And if you didn't, what am I going to do about it? Then also there are also things relating to quality of resources. Like obviously each school, we don't follow a textbook. Every school gives their own notes package. So certainly there must be notes package that are better than others, right? If let's to take all the notes package and compare them side by side, surely there must be notes package that is better than others, right? Then also, of course, there will be difference in terms of quality to answers, to essays and case studies. And I say quality to answers, again, same thing. Some of the length may be too long, some of the length may be too short, some of the answers are not applied enough, right? Some of the answers may be too much information. So the quality can differ. That's because different people in different schools are writing the different materials to the materials that you receive. Right? It's not likely the case that one person wrote everything. So of course the material difference will be there. Okay, so when we talk about school department, right? School department does play a part. Okay, now, so this is the feedback that I received from students, right? That when you receive notes, certain parts, it can be very clunky. Like there's a lot of information, they don't know what to study. Like they think that why is this part of the note so long? Is this very important? Then sometimes they realize that this part is not important, but it's very long, and they need to wonder why. Then students' feedback also can be that the content that they covered is not sufficient to handle actual exam questions. Okay, or some students, like I said just now, right? They are not very good with HBL. Like they feel that I'll say that this is really different student, different strokes. Some people they can like watch pre-recorded video lessons and say that, oh, this works for me. And some students say that, hey, if pre-recorded video lessons, I can't really focus. So this one really differs from person to person. So it can be helpful for some students and not for others. Okay. So next, we talk about teachers. Teachers, we talk about competency. Okay, all teachers are qualified. Okay, I can't say the same for tutors, but all teachers are qualified. They have to go through NIE, so they're qualified to teach. But teachers may not be equally good in terms of the content mastery. And the reason why not all teachers are good at content mastery is because they actually, let's say you take A-level econs, and then your degree is economics degree. It doesn't mean that just because you got econs degree, then you'll be very, very good at teaching A-level economics. And the reason behind that is because there are two parts to it. Hey, firstly, when you go to NUS and SMU, I only can speak for NUS and SMU. When you go to NUS and SMU and do econs, actually a lot of the econs is math. So, and the A-level econs has nothing to do with math. Yeah, it's nothing to do with math. So just because you excel in your NUS and SMU modular economics material doesn't mean that you have the substantial content mastery to actually teach the A-level econs in a very competent way. And there's also this thing called experience. So if you have a teacher that has done 20 years of A-levels versus a new teacher who has only done 1 or 2 years of A-levels, if you've gone through the A-level 20 times versus you've gone through A-level 1 or 2 times, is there a difference? Of course, the difference are right. So then because competency is separate from whether the teacher cares about you and is attentive enough to your needs. Like the teacher can be very competent, but the teacher can really, some teachers care a lot. Like they will spend a lot of time giving. I'll give you an example. So my one of my child, his Chinese is not very strong. So the teacher is actually my child is in primary school, so his Chinese is not very strong. And then what I'm impressed by is that teachers are really very busy, but the teacher is saying that, hey, please parents, can I have your child stay back every Friday so that your child can have extra Chinese classes? We want to actually bridge the gap. So this is not something that all teachers will do for you, right? If you're weak in the subject. All right. So these are kind of telltale signs, but one does not mean the other. Now, these are the things that a good teacher can make, right? The difference a good teacher can make. Then next, okay, is yourself. So I would say normally for a person, the most important factor is yourself. Like, do you have the motivation to study or not? Or that maybe like first 2-3 months, you end up becoming very focused on your CCA. You become very focused on making friends. You become very focused on maybe a boy-girl relationship. So you don't really have the motivation to study. So your motivation is not there, and you don't actually put in time to study. I think it's important to know that the rigor of the A-level curriculum, right, is much tougher than O-level. So if you by chance, right, you never study and then you did well for O-levels, trust me, it's not going to be the same for A-levels. If you don't study for A-levels, you will die. Okay, so and then of course, just because of the motivation doesn't mean you're taking the right approach. Do you have good resources? Are you studying using the correct techniques? Okay, do you know where to look for the answers? Do you know how to plan your time? So these are all skill set associated with a student who can study well, and doesn't mean that you study, that means you're studying well. It means that your time is optimized. Even things like how much to sleep, taking naps, all techniques relating to someone, right, who is preparing to study for the A-levels, right? And whether or not these studying techniques are being optimized. Okay, so some challenge that you might face, and that is why you don't do well at the A-levels when it comes to you as a person, as a factor, is that maybe you are a person who needs structured learning, and HBL is not suitable for you, right? And if some topics are taught through HBL, you don't quite get it. Maybe you are kind of person that need a conducive environment. Maybe home is not a conducive environment. You need to go somewhere to study. Maybe you have been studying wrongly, right? You know how to study for certain subjects, but certain subjects you actually don't know how to study. Maybe you have a lot of distractions. You got 2 CCAs, all of them have competitions, and you're spending a lot of time on your CCA. You're not focused enough. Then these are the reasons why you end up being your own obstacle towards getting an A at the A-levels. Hey, I will move on. Luck. So I think this thing tends not to be focused on because nobody realizes that luck plays a very important role. There are two things that luck can play a part in. Number one is that the topics that end up being tested at the A levels might not be topics that the exams end up focusing on. So you don't know what the focus of that year's exam will be. So luck does play a part. So if the topic that come out is what you're focused on, then of course you do better. And then the other thing is that sometimes luck can mean like, okay, you fell sick, you got diarrhea. Imagine you got diarrhea during the exam day, the hour 2.5 hour paper, you spend 30 minutes in the toilet. Then that means you got only 2 hours, no? So if you only got 2 hours to spend, right, then there is a problem lah. Then there's also a period of time where the MRT breakdown. So sometimes you say, hey, MRT breakdown, never mind, because they'll give you extra time. But what if it gets you in a jittery mode? Then you are not at your mental optimal. Then that's not also helpful lah. Okay. Now, so lastly, so is tuition compulsory at the A levels? No lah. Tuition compulsory, man. Tuition, of course, not compulsory lah. Right? Tuition is more of something that is useful. So you see, if A is a 70% score, right? You don't need 100%, ma. Right? You don't need 100% to get an A, ma. You only need 70% to get an A1. So if all these things align for you, school good, teacher good, you good, luck good, then you don't need tuition lah. Then for those subjects, maybe you don't need tuition. But if any of these areas is lacking, then that's where tuition comes in. But then tuition, right? Okay, let's see. Tuition, right, also depends on this factor. The tutor you get qualified or not. When we say qualification, we talk about that, hey, you want to teach econs, you should have an econs degree. You want to teach math, you got to have a math degree. You want to teach general paper, you got to have a political science degree or a degree that's heavy on writing, heavy on current affairs. Experience. So is someone who has 20, 30 years of teaching experience the same as someone who has 1-2 years of teaching experience? Right. So if you have only done the A-level paper one time, right, is it the same as someone who has done the A-level paper 20 times? Has gone through every single year's exam, so they will be able to know things better, right? Competencies, which is that some teachers, they are very good at like performing. How do I say? They are charismatic. They like make lesson very interesting. That is one part of teaching, but the other part is that are they good at delivering the material to you? Like, do you understand the material? I have run many tuition centers in my life. This is honest truth. I run many tuition centers in my life. I've employed hundreds of tutors, interviewed hundreds of tutors. The truth is that it's not always the case that the most popular tutors at the tuition centers, the students do the best. Sometimes the tutor might be just very popular because the tutor is very sociable, very personable, but the tutor actually doesn't have what it takes to convey or deliver the material across such that the student does well for the exams, right? So these are competencies, right, of a teacher. And then program. Now, so when we talk about materials, right, it shouldn't be materials that are generated by ChatGPT. I tell you that ChatGPT doesn't actually do a very good job in generating econs materials. I have tried it. It does a terrible job. If you get ChatGPT generate, you get a C or D grade. You will not get an A or B grade. The second thing is that if you go for a tuition program, if the again, many tuition centers, right, they hire a tutor, then the tutor teach based on what the tutor feel like teaching. There's no program, there's no curriculum, there's no coverage of the material that's important. So you also got to look at tuition centers that specialize in specific subjects. It's better to get a tuition center that focus in just that one subject rather than tuition centers that, they every level also do, they every subject also do. Then they may not have the specialization there. All right. So, like I mentioned just now, so these are the challenges. We really talk about them. So actually, right, when you want to talk about your A levels, right, will you end up doing well or not? There are 5 different factors, and I will say that all 5 factors are important. Some are more important than the others, and this differ from person to person. This is kind of a benchmark, right? So just be mindful that you could look at all of these factors and ask yourself, you got to evaluate yourself, which is the one that could be potentially a problem for me. And you discover it along the way when you start the school year and you start studying, and then you start to realize that, hey, this factor might be a problem for me. Okay, so why ETG? I'm not going to spend too much time promoting. I'll just give you some basic information about ETG so that if for those of you who are interested in ETG, joining ETG, you have some basic information. I'll let JC take over when we go into the nitty-gritty details about what happens when you register. So that one, JC is our admin manager, so she will brief you more on that later. She'll take over the session. Okay, so this is like, I would say, is the materials that you receive. okay, when you are a student at ETG, and this is not even half the materials that we have. Okay, this is just there's no space for me to fit everything, but we are an econ specialization center. We specialize in A-level economics and IB economics. We don't specialize in math. We don't specialize in history. We don't specialize in GP. We don't specialize in physics, chemistry. We specialize only in economics. So we have put in over the last 17, 18 years a whole bunch of curriculum development, and we have designed all these materials which our students will receive. So if you go to any other tuition center, I'm not too sure you even get a textbook. I'm not too sure if you even get properly organized notes. Okay, so these are some of the materials that our students receive as students with us, so it helps them with their studying. And the ones that you see here, they are our textbooks. Our textbooks are updated every term. So we're not afraid of like people selling our notes on Carousel. We're not afraid of people like copying our notes and developing their own curriculum using our notes. Why are we not afraid? Because our notes are updated every single term, which means we improve our notes every single term. How do we improve our notes? We update them to make sure that it reflects what the exam requirements are with the updated syllabus. It reflects what the current economic development is. So you have the latest example, the latest statistics. So these are the things that we do, and every textbook that we have that we issue every term is updated every year. All right. Distinction rates. You can go to our website to check out distinction rates. This is some of the distinction rates, our A and B rate, our A rate, okay, and how students generally do at J1 promotional exams. Okay, and how did our 2024 this is our 2024 A-level results. Okay, how did the ETG class of 2023 fare? Okay, so these are A, B, and C and below rate. We do have C, Ds, and Es. So it's not that we don't have C, Ds, and Es, but this takes up this small percentage. And they're usually students who join in the last few months, 3-4 months before A levels. Okay. For GP, we also offer GP. The reason why the number is nice and round is because our GP cohort is not large. It's not like 300. It's like more like 20, 30 plus, right? So our A and B rate is like that. Okay. And if you go to tuitiongenius.com or you go to youtube.com and type Tuition Genius, you'll find that there are a lot of videos of students giving testimonials talking about how we have successfully predicted our A levels. So this is our average hit rate for predicting the A levels. We predicted 5 of 6 questions, right, in the last 5 years, right, of essays that came out for the exams. And we predicted 1 out of 2 case studies in the last 5 years of case studies that came out. Okay, so this is one thing that we are pretty well known for. Okay, then some key things that I'll say a program is that we don't waste your time. Every week you come in, there are straightforward, clear objectives, right? We don't waste time. We teach things in a simplified manner. Our lessons are always application-based. You're not going to learn anything that's purely theory. Everything at the end of the lesson, you will realize that there is a certain application to it. You will learn how to use this theory that you have learned to deal with exams and how you can apply it to real life. Then the last thing is that every single lesson is pre-planned. We don't have a lesson that, oh, we just come in and I feel like doing this, then I do this. Lesson 1 in JC1 that you step into all the way to the last lesson at the end of the year, every single lesson has its plan. We pre-plan it such that you learn everything that you need to know from the start to the end. Okay. Our tutors, okay, I've spoken about myself. I'm not going to yak on and on about myself. So I'll just tell you about our tutors. So some students will wonder, hey, should I just be taking classes by Mr. To, which is myself, or can I try out other tutors as well? Hey, one thing I can promise you is that all our tutors are qualified in economics. If they don't have economics degree, we will not take them in. Okay, we have hundreds of tutors coming in to interview with us every year. I only take in about 10% of them. Okay, they must minimally have a bachelor's degree in economics, or many of them, they have a degree from Oxford, Cambridge, reputable universities. Our current slate of tutors also include ex-Hwa Chong tutors, XRI tutors, Oxbridge, Ivy League degree holders, and tutors with years of teaching experience. All right. The last thing that I will talk about is the kind of support they will get. So every student who registered actually has my own private WhatsApp number. If they got questions for econs, they can text me, right? And we have this thing called homework program. So this homework program, from now all the way to June, is targeted students only. Targeted students means if you fail your exam or you fail our term test, we put you in this homework program. Every week you will have homework, you'll be graded, we send back to you. There's no extra cost. Then from June, right, all the way to September for J1, June to November for J2s, we have a weekly homework program that applies to all the students. So every single student who is part of our registered student count, they will be given homework. This homework will be graded. We will give them the answer key. We will give them a video tutorial. So all of this is done with no extra cost. If you are a student here with us, this is something that you have access to. And every single lesson, you miss it, never mind. You can watch the recorded video lesson when you come back to it. Sometimes you have CCA competitions, you have a busy week and you have an exam, you have no time to attend class. You can always watch the lesson recording. Okay, so I think maybe I do want to show you, instead of me just saying, right? Maybe I just show it to you. So I just share screen very quickly. I'll just show it to you on the screen for a minute. Okay, so these are our reviews. So we have video testimonials from across the years. Okay, so we have video testimonials, and then we have Google and Facebook reviews. So the Google and Facebook reviews, you can see they are all real people. No, there's no fake review. And go and click in and see some of these people. And we have transcribed testimonials. Then we have the handwritten testimonials. There's like a total of thousands of them. Okay, then in terms of media feature, we also have we also been featured by media many times over the last 17, 18 years. Okay, so I'll not yet on and waste your beautiful, nice Saturday afternoon. So